Next is OLM's 10 hours of best relaxing music for stress, health, sleep, dream, and love. So this is another totally experimental, I guess the only one I could really describe as experimental. It's very interesting, very diverse, and I like it a lot, but again, this is another Gray Matter Productions release, and as I already kind of said, a lot of the early Gray Matter Productions cassette tapes sounded horrendous, and it's so bad that you can't even hear the cassette. It's distorted, the volume's really low, and it's just unfortunate because, again, I bought the cassette to listen to the cassette because I enjoyed it enough. I mean, yeah, I have the digital files, which is cool, but I don't know. It's really cool, experimental, really good stuff. I like it a lot. Next is another one from Corners Unknown. This is Barren of Shape, and as I recall, this was sort of more grindy, hardcore, and like, I don't know what else, but I like this one a lot. It comes in this sort of lime or slime green tape. I like that a lot, but it's cool too. It's got the really cool cover artwork. I like it. I mean, again, like I said before, Ryan put a lot of effort really just into the visual appearance of his cassettes. It's just such a shame that they haven't gotten more attention, but really cool stuff. I like it a lot. And this one is another one I think I mentioned in episode 4 of the Inner Sanctum. This is Sorceress Inanus, which is a neoclassical dark wave, and I guess it's probably the best way to describe it. It was a project of Jason William Walton and Shane Breyer, who were both original members of Agalock, and this was a project they did in the late 90s, and basically this whole cassette sounds like the instrumental keyboard tracks that you find on Agalock's first album and their demos, and really good stuff. And I guess, as legend tells, back in the late 90s, Cold Spring Records from England had offered them a contract, but at the time Agalock had just released their new album and they were focusing on that, and then they lost motivation for the project, which is a shame because this is really good stuff. And I've had this for probably almost 20 years now. I've listened to it quite a bit, and I still think it's great, and it deserves a re-release and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I know at the very least, though, you can definitely go and download it on Jason William Walton's Bandcamp site. So then we have Banini Bulga Sealed. I mentioned, I believe, the CD version of this in episode 7, 8 of the Inner Sanctum, something or another. It sucks that I can never remember these kind of things, right? And anyway, this is a project of Par Boostrom, and it comes in this really cool cardboard packaging. Very, I don't know if it's unique, but you don't see it too often. It's cool. It's definitely an alternative to the classic plastic clamshell, is that what they call it, a cassette tape case, but really cool stuff. It's a little different, not totally dark ambient, a little more melodic, and even, it's good stuff. I love it. And then North Haunt, Barren Land. I also have this on CD, of course. A classic dark ambient release. This is one that was released on Todd Strebe Records, and curiously, Todd Strebe Records was mostly releasing black metal, but somehow they managed to release North Haunt's Barren Land. But the audio on this isn't too bad. It comes on just a generic black tape, but it's good. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my old Inner Sanctum episode, but for years this was the only version of this album I had, so I've really given this a lot of plays, and it sounds pretty good. It's it's a cassette. It obviously has limitations, but this was what when I first got this album, probably in the early 2000s. I was listening to this a lot, and it wasn't actually until more recently I got my hands on the re-release of Barren Land, the CD re-release, and I guess you could say I got to hear those songs in proper audio quality finally. Up next is Mambe Uelman's Witchworks, and Mambe is certainly no stranger to this channel. I've done unboxing videos with him, and also done a review in one of the older Inner Sanctum episodes. This is really cool stuff, more soundtrackish sounding, and I guess for lack of a better term, it sounds like Halloween music, and it's really cool stuff. I like it a lot. This cassette sounds fantastic, and comes in this orange cassette. This is kind of stuff that I definitely will be playing around this Halloween. Oh, wait a minute, I'm getting married this Halloween. Well, we'll see what happens. But it was a self-release, and it looked out really good, just a visual presentation, really great stuff, and definitely not like as dark ambient or cinematic dark ambient as some of this other stuff, but really cool stuff. It still has a very cinematic vibe, but yeah, just more melodic and more soundtrack. It sounds basically like a soundtrack to a movie that never was, but should have been or something. I don't know. Alright, what other curiosities do we have in here? Atrophy. Violent by Nature. This is some really awesome stuff. I came across this cassette back in, gosh, I guess it was probably like the early 2000s. A friend of mine was telling me about it. He was like, dude, just check out this band from Texas called Atrophy. You're gonna love it. This is awesome stuff. This is totally like just straightforward thrash metal in like Exodus, Testament kind of vein. Really cool stuff. Lots of like that gang shouting stuff. Just really good high energy stuff and some really sweet riffs. Awesome solos. Really cool stuff and honestly pretty underrated stuff. I think these guys reformed recently just to play live and have a little thrill. But this album's from like 1990 and this is the last album they released and it's really fucking good and really underrated. But I mean by 1990 thrash metal's kind of out the door already and death metal and black metal are ready to seize the throne, so to speak, but this is a really cool record and underrated. And yeah, I remember I got this off of eBay for like $3 back in the early 2000s. I've kept it since then. Just a really awesome album. And next is Tired Lord, and this is another one from Corners Unknown, and this is well, it's called Demo. And it comes in this gray cassette tape, and sound quality, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the sound quality and all the From Corners Unknown really just sounds really good. And this is sort of like I don't know, sort of a heavy hardcore doom blackish metal. I don't really know how to describe it. I probably should have actually like listened to some of these cassettes before doing these videos, because if you haven't already figured out, this is very improv and I'm just going by the moment and see what happens. But this is cool shit. I don't know what else to say, but check it out, look it up, it's good stuff. Yeah. Oh, Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah, what can I say about Weird Al Yankovic and Dare to Be Stupid? Back in the late 80s, early 90s, somewhat to a point, me and my younger brother, we loved Weird Al. I mean, we were kids, and he was doing parodies of songs, and it was fucking hilarious, and this guy's music will forever, as long as I live, always have a special place in my heart. And this is one of the original tapes we bought back in the, when did this come out? It's 1985, so I can only assume we bought it in the late 80s or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think back in the 80s, a lot of kids growing up loved his music. I guess maybe adults loved it too, I don't know, but I thought his whole gimmick of doing parodies and other wacky songs, just, it was awesome. It made me happy, it made me laugh, and there was not necessarily a lot of laughing and happiness in my household because my parents were constantly fighting, so Weird Al was a good escape from the reality that I otherwise hated. So yeah, Dare to Be Stupid. It's not his best album, definitely his best album was In 3D, come on, but yeah, this is one of the other better ones, I think, from the 80s, and yeah, Weird Al Yankovic. This is John Holmes, 122012 and 042911. Yeah, what does that mean? John Holmes is, of course, the visionary of Egalock, and this is one of his first solo endeavors. This is sort of a mixture of like post-rock and ambient and some weird experimental shit that I didn't really like that much, but it's okay. It's pretentious, as John Holmes is, but I bought this because I was and still to an extent am a huge Egalock fan. And I think it was pretty limited, 500 copies or something, and I snatched one up of a Bandcamp as soon as it was released, and I'm happy to have it. I throw it on not too often, but it's okay stuff, you know? Maybe? I don't know. What do you think? Falls of Rauros Revisitation, and this is like an atmospheric folk black metal band, and when these guys first came out back around 2005, I want to say, I loved those demos they released, because they originally just were released on MySpace in like rather lo-fi quality, and then they eventually went on and started releasing their full-length albums, and those demos were just kind of hanging there in, you know, cyberspace, so to speak. And I was waiting for them to get re-released, and then they got re-released by, I believe this was another one from the Todd Strebe Records I don't know who the fuck that is. That's not Todd Street, but I bought this as soon as this cassette was released because it was those demos and that EP that came out back in like 2005, 2006. I absolutely loved that stuff. Unfortunately, this is another case where the cassette is completely fucked. It sounds like shit, and it's not so much like an issue with it being distorted or the volume's too low. It sounds like the tape is moving too like faster than the actual audio, so it sounds really awkward. And again, it's just, I bought this for those demos to have a hard physical media because I like them, love them to some extent now still, and now I don't have them because it sucks. I don't even have a digital file anymore, so it sucks even more. Anyway. Spectral Lores 1. This was sent to me back in, oh gosh, I would say maybe 2006 when it was first released. For review on my zine, Lunar Hypnosis, of course, and I feel like when this was re-released, I don't know if I even owned a cassette player, but I must have, because I did a review of it, so I must have found a way to do it anyway. But Spectral Lore has become a very popular band in the atmospheric black metal genre nowadays and in the past 5-6 years or so. But back in this first album, he was pretty much just plain raw black metal with some ambient characteristics. It sounded pretty heavily influenced by Burzum, and this first album is good, but it definitely was just, you know, a stepping stone into better things, and he's definitely gotten better since then. And but this is, I guess, probably pretty rare. It's, you know, this is number 26 of 250, and for all I know, I might have something really rare with this, and some dipshit on Discogs might send me $50 for this if I listed it, but I don't know. I guess I like keeping it because I don't have any other version of that album. Alright, this is like part 3 of this video or something, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure I've broken this into like 3 videos by now, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Uncomposing, Northernmost Epic. This is pretty fucking rare stuff right here. I got this from a friend of mine about, I don't know, about 7 years ago. He had collected a huge amount of cassettes back in the early 90s through tape trade, and he had this, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, holy fucking shit, because this is a pretty rare demo. It is a band that John Holmes was doing before he started Egalock, and in case you're wondering, in case you never heard this, it's not very good. It sucks, actually. But what makes it cool is you can sort of see hints of Egalock in this band. And that was cool, because if you like Egalock, especially the early Egalock as much as I do, it's just kind of interesting seeing his development as a musician. And this was a solo project, totally, and I kind of heard the grapevine, or, well, I should say, Don Anderson told me that John absolutely hates this demo, and he has taken extreme measures to actually destroy this demo because he thinks he hates it so much. But for what it's worth, for something released in 1994, it actually has some unique characteristics to it. And it's also notable that back in those days, he called himself John Lewis, which may be his middle name, but I think actually I heard somewhere on the grapevine his real last name is actually John Hamm. It's not John Holmes, so it's like the John Holmes thing is like his alter ego or something like that. I don't know. And there's, what the hell else was there? Oh, there's a really funny quote in here. I love this too. Where was that? The special thanks to blah 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 blah. And the special thanks to, and all the many goddesses that please mine ever so perverse eyes from day to day. I'd fuck you all. He'd fuck them all. That's awesome. He would fuck them all. He would also fuck Tori Amos, my love goddess. That's crazy. He fucking, well, honestly, Tori Amos was pretty good looking back in the early 90s, so who could resist that red-haired bombshell? She was a goddess. But this guy was like a wannabe black metal dude. He shouldn't be like liking Tori Amos, right? I don't fucking know, whatever. Desultory, I don't know how to pronounce the goddamn name. Bitterness. So, I never opened this because somewhere around the way someone gave me a shitty ass like cassette they recorded from a CD onto like a blank tape, and I just listened to that for years, and then I lost that, and I just never opened this one. But if you don't know these guys, they started out, they're one of the awesome classic Swedish death metal bands, and their first album is really good, and then they went in this different direction. This was more like it's sort of melodic death metal, but it's also has a pretty strong vibes from like Entombed's Wolverine Blues. And I mean, I love the first Entombed record, but like, it's just when they went that more what do they call it, death and roll style. I thought it was just awful, and I think there was a lot of bands in Sweden and even outside of Sweden that were like, oh, Entombed is doing this thing now, so it should be like Entombed, Entombed doing good, so let's do the death and roll thing. And these guys did the exact same thing. They were like, oh, fuck it, it's working for Entombed, so we might as well do it. And this album is okay, but it's not great. I mean, like I said, it's this weird mixture of like a death and roll style and melodic death metal. So you get those kind of melodic death metal characters. You get some really cool kind of riffs and real cool songs and stuff like this, but it's just, it's got those like hardcore or whatever. Fuck it, whatever. Baffle Vomit. So this was back in 2012. I went to Finland, and a friend of mine, his name is Juha, he stayed with me and my friends when we went to Tuska, and this was a kind of a band he was doing back then. They only did this one album, or maybe it's only a demo. It's called Defecating upon the Holy Trinity, and this is total like Behered, blasphemy, profanatica worship. Really, I mean, the influences are obvious, but it's cool stuff for what it is. It's super short. It's like maybe 20 minutes long, but cool stuff. I like it. I wish they would have done more, but I believe he played guitar on this record. I have to look in the book. I don't feel like doing that right now. Oh yeah, Imperceptum, Heart of Darkness. Another super cool release that was on Great Matter Productions, and another one that did not sound too good. Which, again, as I've already mentioned, I bought this to listen to the cassettes. This is really cool, sort of doomy, atmospheric black metal, I guess. I don't know. I need to listen to some more. Well, I need to listen to the digital files because this tape doesn't sound very good. Goshen. This is another one from Corners Unknown, and I'm going to act like I know what I'm talking about here, but I don't know what I'm talking about, and quite honestly, I don't remember what this tape sounds like. I'm going to lie here and say that it sounds like grindcore or mathcore or something like that. There's definitely some core going on in this one, I think. But I remember I liked it, and I listened to this album later on, and then whatever. The Null Spectre, yes, the Null Spectre. This was one that was released on Sleep Unit, and this is a really cool stuff, really atmospheric, sort of cinematic, dark ambient, and this was like, I think, the only album he did, and then he did a split record, and which is unfortunate because this is really cool stuff. I like it a lot, and I was really looking forward to hearing more from this guy, but he just seemed like he didn't do much beyond that. I think it's been a few years since that split record he did, and presumably the band's dead, but then again, I haven't looked at the Bandcamp site in quite a while, so maybe he has more releases. I guess I should do that. In case you're wondering about my beers of choice for this video, there you have it. Had a few other ones before this, before I made this video, and it's a Friday night, and this is probably part 3 of this video here, and this probably won't premiere until like 3 weeks from like the time I created. Whatever. Why am I even saying this? I don't know.